and welcome back to the Earth Chats podcast. I'm your host, Sahara, and today I'll be chatting to Rob Hill of the Renewable Knysna initiative, an initiative to tackle the waste and recycling issues in Knysna. I'm proud to say that I am a part of this wonderful cause and truly believe that it has so much potential to spread good and positive change for waste in Knysna. So today we will be chatting all things Renewable Knysna, how it got started, the goals it wishes to achieve, and the steps that it needs to take to achieve them. I hope you enjoy this episode. If you do, make sure to subscribe to the podcast by hitting the link in the description box below. If you'd like to further join in on the conversation, make sure to check out our Facebook page and our Facebook group. The links will be in the description box below. Now, without further ado, let's get on with the episode. Today we've got Rob Hill joining us. So let's just start off with a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I've been in Knysna for 25 years. I started off, I was born in Johannesburg. I was then, we moved on to Knysna 25 years ago. I started off as a restaurateur, and then we moved over to England for 6.5 years in about 2001. And then while I was out in England, I changed vocations basically from the hospitality industry. My first degree was in hospitality, so I got a degree in hotel management.
Okay.
And exec chefing. And then when we went over to the UK, I changed from hotel management to personal training.
Okay.
Started off as a junior fitness instructor in one of the big chains in the UK. And then eventually worked my way up to club manager for one of the flagship clubs in the UK. And then went on my own as a personal trainer. When we came back to Knysna, I wasn't sure whether or not it was going to take as a personal trainer. Decided that we'd give it a year. And I was very lucky that it took off really, really well.
Oh, good.
And now I've really got a really good personal training business, which I'm very proud of. And it seems to work very well.
You've got a lovely spot here, that's for sure. Definitely, with all the nice bicycles and everything goes well.
Yeah, this is, expanded it slightly into the cycling studio. So the cycling studio we have is one of the most advanced around.
Okay,
it runs on a fully interactive computer system where we cycle real and live time with people around the world.
Oh, that's so
including
cool.
Some of the pros. A lot of the pros come and ride with us as well.
Jeez, that's awesome.
So yeah, it's a very, very cool system. Yeah.
That's really cool. I'll have to try it out someday.
Yeah.
So, you work as a personal trainer and you run your own training business. Have you always been a personal trainer, and how did you get involved with environment? So I guess you kind of answered that, but I'm curious, how did you get involved with like environmental kind of stuff?
Okay, I kind of fell into it. It wasn't my remit, it wasn't somewhere where I was going purposefully. My business is across the road from the recycling plant.
Yeah.
I'm in the health industry, and obviously I didn't want my clients having to drive through rubbish to come into my business. So I'd been canvassing the Knysna municipality for quite a long time to sort out the recycling area, to clean it up, and not getting very far. Until eventually Duran and I decided that we'd get together, and that was kind of where Renewable Knysna came about. It was, I don't call myself an eco-warrior, I'm not an environmentalist per se. I do love the environmental aspects of things. I do want us to have a better future for our country, and I know that we need to do a great deal more.
Yeah.
But I didn't start it out as a project to become an environmentalist, if you will. It was just more out of necessity. When we got involved in Renewable Knysna, it just snowballed. I am very aware of what needs to be done. I am very, very behind what needs to be done. But I wouldn't call myself an environmentalist, as much as I know people would like me to be.
Well, I don't think you have to be an environmentalist to do stuff in the environment. Personally, I think everybody needs to be doing something.
Agreed?
I think everybody needs to play their part. So, you told us a little bit about Renewable Knysna, but can you chat a bit more about what exactly the initiative is and what it is trying to achieve?
Okay, so I've kind of touched on the start of Renewable Knysna that we created a Facebook page fundamentally to raise funds for Chantal, who is the lady who is in charge of the recycling in Knysna and Sedgefield. And it snowballed there from being just purely a fundraising effort to try and support and help Chantal to get back to where she needed to becoming a porthole for creating a better recyclable situation in Knysna. So Renew Able Knysna now, as it stands at the moment, is first and foremost a fundraising effort to try and get Chantal where she wants to go. And then we're now breaking into a situation where we want to create a more efficient way of renewing or recycling in Knysna. A more modern facility, and above all to create information and to educate people about recycling, which I think is one of the key aspects of it. The way to help Chantal is for us to be more educated as a public.
For sure.
And it's been a massive learning curve for me, as I think it has for most of us. And I think that learning curve is just at the beginning now. We need to kind of figure out how to do this better. Because in Knysna, we are ripe for the picking. We really, really should be more responsible.
Yes, for sure. And I think it's also getting that education out there. I mean, a lot of people, myself included, you actually, you read what can be recycled, but it doesn't exactly apply to right here.
Absolutely.
It's all different.
Absolutely.
So in terms of the initiative's goals, what do you think are the key steps to take to achieve them?
Okay, as I've touched on, the primary goal has to be initially to sort out Chantal. Chantal needs to be helped to get her back to where she can manage her business. It is her business, so we have to bear that in mind, but she's just been completely snowed under and we need to help her to get her back to that situation. Key to that is the municipality being on board to help her do their part, as well as obviously continuing doing their part. Education about what can be recycled so that Chantal doesn't have to sort out all of our rubbish. And then going from there, we need to streamline recycling in our town. We need to bring in further afield support structures. So people that are on a national basis, try and get them to come in and consult with us and possibly invest in us to try and get a more refined recycling process going and modernizing the structure and possibly, if we can, in the long term, relocating this entire thing. I think that would be the key. Where it is at the moment is just not ideal.
No, right next to the lagoon and in the middle of town.
So if we can, long term get Chantal back on board and then try and relocate and modernize the whole facility and allow us to recycle more. So instead of just doing 1 through 4 and not even all of 1 through 4, for us to be able to do all of 1 through 7 would be fantastic.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. So what do you think has been the most challenging aspect of starting an initiative like this?
Confusion amongst the public. I think that there's been a lot of misinformation. There still is a lot of misinformation out there. I think that there's a lot of people that are bombastically sticking to what they believe is right and wrong. I'm not going to debate whether or not it's right or wrong what we recycle. It is what we recycle. There are economic values behind it. There are reasons why Chantal can't recycle certain things. And we will hopefully get to a point where we can do all of those. But getting people to learn and embrace what we can recycle is key. There are other avenues where we can recycle things that Chantal can't take on board, and that's fantastic. And hopefully we'll be able to embrace and bring those all under one umbrella and feed those out. But at the moment, just getting the whole of Knysna to understand and subscribe to what we can do at the moment.
Yeah, getting everyone on the same page, on board.
Yeah,
for sure. So, looking towards the future, do you think that Renew Able Knysna will expand to address other issues surrounding the environment and waste?
Yeah, interesting question. I do think that they will expand, yes. I think that's kind of where it's going. If it continues to create the impetus that has already been created, I think it's going to be huge. And I think there's a lot of peripheral things around the renewability in Knysna and around waste. And I think that it could eventually go into environmental impact and that kind of thing. And I think the scope of Renewable Knysna is fairly sizable, and the people that are involved are incredibly motivated and incredibly positive people. So I do think that it can go into a great deal more. Where it's going to go, I don't know. Where I'm going to be involved into, I don't know. I do think it has the potential to go a lot further. But it eventually gets to the point where it becomes a professional organization as opposed to a charitable organization. You know, at the moment, most of the people that are involved in it are professionals in their own right, and they have to run their own businesses, and Renewable Knysna takes up a lot of time. So, you know, eventually that breaking point gets reached, and, you know, we have to bring on board professional people to do it, people that get paid.
Yeah. But, you know, everything in its time. I think there is definitely huge opportunity for it to go in all kinds of directions. Especially, I think it's very interesting for it to also be like an overarching, you know, umbrella, because there's so many different initiatives happening in Knysna with people thinking the same things, and when you can bring it all together like that, have the different people kind of taking on different areas, but it's all under a single umbrella.
Fully agreed. Yeah. I do think that we need to, you know, there's a lot of much more assertive warriors and much more admirable warriors than myself out there that need to be brought in under one umbrella, that need to be brought in so that everything can work together, so that we haven't got these little factions of people trying to do good, that we can all bring it together.
And honestly, when everybody works together, the impact is so much more powerful.
Absolutely.
Yes. So let's switch things up a little bit. And I'm curious to know, what does a typical day in the life of Rob Hill look like?
Okay, so 5 days a week I wake up at 4 a.m.
Okay, wow.
I'm at work by 5 a.m. My clients start at 5:30, just before 5:30. 5:30 is generally my busiest time, so I've got quite a few people on the bikes, and I've got clients most mornings. I then do personal training most days throughout the day. Where I can, I get a training session in for myself, and then obviously we're training on the bike and that. On occasion I get to go home a little earlier, and then I generally spend the time catching up on admin, designing programs for my clients, that kind of thing. Admin is my bugbear. I kind of think I fell into personal training more because I hate admin more than anything else. But I am very, very fortunate. I love what I do. So getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning or 4 a.m. in the morning is not too bad.
Especially in the summer.
It doesn't really bother me. Summer, winter,
really?
same thing, yeah.
Okay.
It's just a little darker in winter. But so that's pretty much it. Weekends I use to chill, get my longer training rides in, longer training aspects in. And then, just chill, basically. So
nice.
Weekends are very much a chill thing because weeks are quite busy.
Yes, it's important to distinguish weekends from weeks, because otherwise you just overextend yourself.
Yeah, indeed.
So, what is one of the biggest lessons that you've learned, and it doesn't have to be career related?
I personalize things too much. So, we've got a lot of people on Renewable Knysna that are questioning things. And sometimes they question things maybe a little too vehemently. And I tend to personalize things a bit too much. And I sit there thinking, hang on a sec, you're sitting there not doing anything and you're just asking us, and we're trying hard to kind of fix things. Maybe you should get off your butt and come and help us instead of just questioning us, And I shouldn't be personalizing things like that. People are just asking for information. People have their own agendas in terms of how they believe things should be done, and they're entitled to that. And I tend to personalize things a bit too much. I think that's my biggest lesson, and I need to learn to distance myself and become more objective.
Good. Well, we're always learning, for sure.
Absolutely.
And these things always, when they present their challenges, it's usually because we need to learn some kind of lesson out of it. So, on the top of your head, what are 3 things you're grateful for in this moment?
Where I live, I think Knysna is a wonderful place. I've been to a number of places around the world, and I'm yet to find somewhere that I want to live more than in Knysna. I have a wonderful girlfriend. We've been together for nearly 20 years now.
Wow.
And she's fantastic. She's incredibly supportive, and I'm very fortunate to have her. And I have an awesome job. The job that I do, I'm very happy about. I wake up every morning wanting to make people stronger, wanting to make people better, and when I see them become better and stronger and live up to my expectations, it is just so fulfilling. It really
I can
is.
imagine. It's awesome stuff. Okay, this one's a bit of a tricky one. If we had one day to save the planet, what 3 things would we need to do?
Okay, I'm going to be idealistic in my approach on this, because realistically what I am suggesting, it is what is needed, but realistically it's probably unobtainable. But I'm going to put them out there anyway. Firstly and foremostly, we need to reduce the population. That is the root cause of all of our problems. We need to reduce the population.
Agree.
Secondly, we need to educate. There are a large portion of people in this world that are very on board with recycling and saving our planet and doing the right things, but there's a huge amount of people that are just simply not on board. They just don't see the benefit of it.
Yes.
So we need to educate. And then the third thing that I would do is get rid of plastics. Again, it's very idealistic, because plastics are in everything that we use and everything that we do. We drive cars that have plastics in. We talk on phones that have plastics in. We train in gyms that have plastics in. We go and buy food that are wrapped in plastic. So everything has plastics. So idealistically, we would get rid of the plastics.
Those 3 things are probably exactly what I would do. I 100% agree with that. Definitely.
Cool.
Now, almost our last question. What piece of advice or actionable step can you give to our listeners to help them reduce their impacts on the planet?
Don't just think about what you're buying. Think about what the process was in getting it to you. So a lot of us think, okay, by me not buying plastic-covered foods, I'm now saving the planet. But they still live in a household where there are 3 vehicles for 2 people. Think about the impact that producing 1 vehicle had on this planet. Do you need 3 vehicles? You need 2 vehicles. My girlfriend and I, for the last 15 years of our lives, have had 1 vehicle, and we're quite happy in it. Do we need 5 laptops in our family? Can we make do with just 1 or 2? So don't just make a decision based on kind of what you believe is the right way to go. Think about the process behind which that product got to you. The whole process contributes to the downfall of our world.
Yeah, that's that bigger picture that not everybody looks at. Good. So our last question, how can people get involved with Renew Able Knysna and help support the initiative?
Okay, so the portal that we've got at the moment is Facebook, Renew Able Knysna on Facebook. Go on to Renew Able Knysna, share it, like it, take part in the discussions, learn. The biggest thing that we need in terms of help at the moment, unfortunately, and it's a cliche, but money. We need to get enough money on board that we can help Chantal get back to a point that she can work her recycling plant. Beyond that, obviously, there's going to be an ongoing need for finances to grow Renew Able Knysna, to grow the facilities behind that, but those are not pressing issues at the moment. Those are issues that we can deal with once we get there. We can then start approaching companies. There are companies already that are looking at helping us to grow that aspect of it. But for now, we need people to get onto Renew Able Knysna, to become educated in what they can and cannot recycle, and then to also, if they can and if they are willing, to donate a little bit of money for us to be able to pay for the staff that is going to help Chantal get back on her feet. So in Knysna specifically, I would say, get onto Renew Able Knysna, be a part of it, learn what you can and cannot recycle, learn where the different portals are that you can recycle. It's not just Chantal. And then, as I say, if you can, contribute a bit of money. And there's a lot of really good initiatives going out there where we're going out to pick up litter and, where people are regenerating recyclables and that kind of thing. So, take part, be a part of it.
Fantastic.
Don't just sit back in your armchair and think that you're doing a good job by recycling.
No.
Get involved.
Definitely. Time to take action and get involved in these things.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very, very much.
You're most welcome.
For making the time to meet and do this interview. I think it was a very, very interesting chat, and I learned a couple of things, so it's very cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode and found something new and insightful and inspiring. For those of you in the Knysna and Garden Route area, please do get involved. Check them out on Facebook at Renew Able Knysna and do what you can, whether it's educate, donate, and take part in the conversation. It is truly a worthy cause and it is something that we should all be talking about. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to the show. And I will see you next week for another inspiring conversation.